Correct, I pronounce it correctly? Yeah. Which is the co-founder and managing partner of P1 Ventures. P1 is a venture capital firm focused on early stage investment in Africa and supporting high potential startups. We have Amy Dalal, who is the global lead for upstream disruptive technologies and funds for IFC. And we have also with us William Baobin, who is the managing general partner of Orbit Startups, an early stage VC, investing in emerging market startups and supporting with their program, driving marketing, customer acquisition, and sales. So we're going to start our panel, and then I'll open the floor to questions for the audience. So, Michael, I'm going to start with you. Yeah, go. I'm going to start with you. Can you please introduce yourself and, P1 Ventures, and tell us more about what you do and, yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Yes. Michael Hajjar. I am from Mauritania, so a neighboring country. I'm a great fan of Morocco. We started investing here in 2020, so it's been a few years. It's been a really fun run. We had the chance to meet some of you already in the audience. I saw some familiar faces. Yeah, I'm an engineer by training. I started angel investing in about 10 years ago, and we started the fund 5 years ago. We have been grateful to be part of the journey of Sherry early on. It's been very insightful and very rewarding so far, and a few others in the region.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about how you invest? What is your investment thesis and, your experience and your journey in Morocco?
Of course. So we focus on founders. I think the way P1 is looking at investment opportunities is very much team first, market second, and then product third. So that's the spectrum, the lens we use when we assess investment opportunities. And what we really liked in the Sherry team early on is that it was a very seasoned team. They were building for the third or fourth time. And so it was a business model that we also understood well, because we were looking at B2B e-commerce across the continent. We saw many opportunities back then in Egypt, Nigeria. There was already, I think, Wasoko, now formerly Soko Watch, in Kenya that sort of built, a $50 million business or so. And so we had local precedents for a business that had meaningful scale. We had a very seasoned team that was executing on a well-understood playbook, and the market is meaningful. If a $50 million business can be built in Kenya, we felt like the same could be done in Morocco, and so we moved forward with that, and we learned a lot. I think it's a very exciting opportunity. It's probably one of the only startups we know of that were able to transform itself over time. I think it may be the very first startup in Morocco that ever acquired the PSP license, the payment service provider license. And so they started by digitizing trade, and now they started to digitize payments. They even, I think, secured the rights to acquire a full-on bank. And so it's a very powerful moment where you can see a startup now that has the ambition of acquiring a bank and digitize eventually lending. So very, very exciting opportunities in Morocco.
Thank you, Michael. William, can you please introduce yourself and tell us more about Orbit Startups?
Yeah, sure. So Orbit Startups, we're early stage VC. We invest and then we support with our accelerator program. So we started the first accelerator program that's still running in an emerging market in the world in 2010 in China. So when I started investing in what is now the largest emerging market in the world in China in 2003, the total value of all the companies combined was $1 billion. That's it. And when I stopped investing in China in 2018, it was 3.5 trillion. So I first met Alibaba when there's 30 people on one floor in one building in Hangzhou in 2003. Long journey, and we took the company IPO. Helped them in 05, 06 for the 07 IPO. So been doing early stage VC for quite a while now, and what we're taking is what we learned from China and 15 years investing in India to local founders around the world. We have this model, 28 companies like Shari, where they're digitizing micro SME mom and pop shops, just like we did with Alibaba, and helping them basically take a small business and digitize it, make it a lot more efficient, and not just sell physical goods, but also sell digital goods. So we're doing this in 27, 28 companies, from Kenya to Morocco, where we just invested in Shari, and they joined our ecosystem, to South Asia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and even Latin America. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, William. Can you tell us what attracts you to come in Morocco?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important things about the market here is you have a great human resource, and you have everything that you need to have an economic transformation driven by tech. So educated people, you have a great working internet, you have a smartphone, a mega computer in everybody's pocket, right? And you have the ability to pay for things. And when you have these basic building blocks, you can fundamentally transform the economy. And it actually doesn't really require that much money. It does not necessarily require investment. What it requires, though, is support from the ecosystem. So when we invest along with others. We all work together to drive this economic transformation that is not so much reliant on money, but we drive this growth based on partnerships. So we partner with TAMWILCOM, we partner with telcos, we partner with brands, and actually for us, our startups partner with each other to help each other. And we're investing not in a unicorn hunting way, but we're trying to build an ecosystem. So if you think about most investors, most VCs, they invest in 10 companies, they break even on their fund on one, and they make all their money on the second, and they don't care about 8. And that's not the way we believe to build an ecosystem. We want to help all the companies hopefully do well. So you have the 2 winners, but hopefully those 2 winners can actually help the other 8 also become winners.
Definitely, yeah. Can you tell us, more about the way you can accompany companies like, Sherry, that you've just done? The way you can do it, and also, the way you did the investment. Morocco was a new country for you. It was your first investment here. How did you do this investment? It's a new country, so how was it? How was your journey?
Yeah, so we are not of Morocco. We're actually not really of anywhere.
Yeah.
So we try very hard not to tell the founders what to do because we don't know. But I've done 360 investments, and we've seen a lot of ways to do things, and we use that experience to help construct experiments. And the data from the experiments drives the decision making. So our team helps with the experiments, but we don't actually try and drive the decisions. And so it's not copy-paste. It's more like you learn from around the world, and then but you have to localize. Because the way you solve a problem in Kenya or China or Pakistan is not necessarily the way you solve a similar challenge here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, William. Omar, you have been the institution that really helps this ecosystem. Can you, roughly there was this first edition, and there's so much to learn about this first edition, with the successes that we can celebrate, but also, well, the things, the challenges, and the things that we have to improve. Can you please share your journey with us, and maybe to tell us what is the evaluation of the impact you had and the lessons you learned?
First, you have to know that we are a financial institution dedicated to reducing financing gap for SMEs. We started targeting startups since 2009 by developing a guarantee mechanism for a VC fund, seed and VC fund, to encourage the creation of VC and seed fund as a way to finance startup. And later on, we also launched a loan, special dedicated loan for startup that was called Innovation Tick in 2010. And we have learned from those 2 first experiences that we needed to have a more comprehensive approach, in a sense that we needed to onboard also ecosystem partners in our mission to support startup. So we developed in 2017, along with the Ministry of Finance, the Innovinvest Fund, through which we financed 500 startups. We have also made a leverage, financial leverage by having also other private investors along with us to invest with us in the fund. Today, Innovinvest run with more than $100 million. The half of which was brought by private investors. So the first version of Innovinvest was built to create emulation in the ecosystem, and we think that we have succeeded to do so. We try to create a massive number of startups so that we can make the Moroccan ecosystem under the radars of foreign investors like yourselves. So in that way, I think we managed to do a good work. But the second version of Innovinvest will be dedicated to segmentation and specialization. Means that we need to improve the value proposition that we bring to startups, so that we can support high potential startup and bring them to a relevant investor in a way that they can raise funds and scale properly.
Great, thank you. And can you also share more about the current initiative that you just launched few months ago?
Of course. So the second version of Innovinvest is dedicated to, as I said, segmentation. So we work together with relevant ecosystem partners we deemed had the most impact on the ecosystem, mostly incubators and accelerators, to develop a coherent approach to support startups at seed and early stage level. So those segments were specifically incubation, ideation, incubation, and acceleration. Each one brings specific value-added services to the startup to help them attain some KPIs that are needed to be checked for investors. And later on, we have also managed to create VC funds, seed and VC funds, along which we have also we brought also incentives like asymmetric returns, like guarantee, like non-dilutive financing, to create funds like Azure Innovation, Maroc Numeric Fund, also MTech, to capture those potentially high-level startup, invest in them, and bring them to the next stage of their development, which are Series B and Series A and Series C later on. So that is to say that TAMWILCOM is specifically operating at the early stage let's say venture of a journey of a startup, and we support them from ideation to seed and pre-series A level.
Yeah, and this initiative is really, really important. As as I was saying, there was many funds coming, and we need, to prepare the pipeline for this fund. Yeah.
Exactly. So we are there to prepare pipelines so that investors may identify foreign investors, mainly identify Morocco as a valuable destination to invest in.
And as the ecosystem has grown up, from compared to 5-6 years ago, in this, have you thought about initiative that's going to help for the acceleration and to accompany more mature startups?
Okay, so that's a great question. Why did we decide to launch an initiative for acceleration? Because initially we have built our, the Innovinvest was built initially on the assumption that the ecosystem was less not very mature, and that we are going to finance mostly SaaS models for startups. So as we moved along, we discovered that the ecosystem has matured, and we started to see deep tech startup that requires more fund, heavier fund that we primarily have dedicated to the startups. So that needed us to first adapt our financing mechanism at the pre-seed stage.
Yeah.
Some of which the amounts financed that were given as soft loans and grants for startup has increased, and then there is also the segment of acceleration that needs to be filled as it starts to constitute a real gap in the ecosystem. I think that's the fact that Morocco needs more and more accelerator is us witnessing that this ecosystem is starting to evolve in a very positive way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Amy. I'd love to hear you about, how you see our ecosystem, and IFC have been so involved in developing it. So,
yes,
what is your vision?
No,
about
thank
that?
you very much. So, hello everyone. It's nice to meet you. Ami Dalal from IFC. This is a very well put together panel, Omar, because the points have complemented each other so well. So just a little bit about IFC's equity program. We are primarily you may know us as infrastructure investors, as investors that provide debt to large businesses to support growth in markets. For about 20 years, we've been investing in the funds and early stage tech space. We've invested about $6 billion globally, of which about 2.5 has been in venture. About 1.5 of that is in Africa. So notwithstanding this recognition that Africa, Northern Africa, Morocco doesn't get the capital it needs, and it doesn't, we have tried to be very intentional and thoughtful about that investment. At the same time, when we look at what we've invested at the earliest stages, it's been about 50 million. So barely 1% of the total, right? That's in recognition of the stage of these companies, but it is not to say that we are not committed to this space. And we recognize that we need to grow that 1% to more in order to grow the 6 billion to double that. And in fact, that is our vision for this market, for, I don't like to say Africa as a whole because it is as diverse as the world, right? So I want to be very careful in that comment. But in talking about even Morocco, we have invested in funds that are supporting the ecosystem, but I think Omar and I very much agree that there's an American phrase, and it's very American, that we need to do more, faster, and better. And so how do we do more, faster, and better in Morocco? One of the things that we've been talking about, the Moroccan government and TAMWILCOM has worked very closely with the World Bank on Innovinvest. Many markets are looking at this program as a model. But what I love about TAMWILCOM is they act like an entrepreneur. They're like, well, we've solved this. We haven't solved this. Let's pivot. Let's iterate. And so that is what this new partnership is about, is to find the focus on early stage, very early stage acceleration, very early stage investment. And this is where IFC said, we are deeply committed to supporting this space, but we are not great at investing at that early stage. Even, remember I said, we invest through funds at this stage. So how can we take the models that have worked in other markets at the seeds level and bring those insights and those connections to Morocco to accelerate the growth here? And so that is really, I think, what our partnership is about. I was thinking to myself, if I had a pen, I would have written this down. Mikhail said something about when he invested in Chari. It's a really experienced team. They had done this multiple times. It's hard to find those kinds of talent in market if you don't have an established ecosystem. But if we can work with seed investors, accelerators that actually have that experience, that can bring incredibly bright and talented founders, which you will see kind of populating. I mean, like, you want to get inspired and excited? Go that way. Don't talk to us, you know? But if we can support them with the experience and expertise of many years of other people's experience, I think we can do more faster and better.
Thank you, Amy. And I mean, given your involvement in the, how do you evaluate the impact of the first initiative of TAMWILCOM? I mean, just take a picture on all what have been done, because sometimes we hear, we're too late, we're in the 5, it's no, we spent too much time. So what is your
look, I think when it started, it was incredibly innovative. It was one of the first programs that were the World Bank, which is different than IFC, worked with the Moroccan government to address a gap in the systematic, thoughtful way, focused on investment, on bringing the private sector in. I think it has achieved quite a bit in that respect. Is it enough? Has it addressed all of the factors of the ecosystem? Absolutely not.
Of course not.
But I think that is the case of any ecosystem. You look at the United States, and we will say, okay, fine, San Francisco is doing well, Austin is doing well, Boston, New York. But you know, in New York, we're not going to Queens. In Boston, we're not leaving Cambridge. In San Francisco, we're not leaving Palo Alto. And so the journey of TAMWILCOM and of Morocco is that journey of, I think, many ecosystems. The most important thing is to recognize the success and pivot on the gap. And I think we are pivoting on the gap. And I think that's exciting. And I'm excited for that.
Thank you.
I totally agree with Amy. I mean, that Invest was mainly supported by the World Bank. A whole amount was financed by the World Bank. Then we could leverage. We have succeeded to leverage additional funds from the private sector. But then we are really delighted to have IFC with us in that particular project of acceleration, as it will be one of the first projects to be launched in Morocco by the IFC. So we are delighted to have that prestigious signature with us, and I think having them with us will add some security to the foreign investors that already have Morocco in their radars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Omar, I mean, according to you, what are the big challenges the ecosystem is facing right now? Big one.
Mostly, one of the biggest challenges of the ecosystem is the financial weakness of the support ecosystem actors.
Okay.
Those are the ones that, after all, bring and develop the pipeline. So it was. I mean, we have bid on them, on the fact that they will provide very high potential startup for us, and they have succeeded in doing so in the first edition. Given that the amounts of financing that we have given to them were slightly disproportionate with the amount of work that were required.
Yeah.
So today I think we have resolved that issue, and we hope that we will go through, as I said, a specialization of those actors that will come naturally as they keep on supporting startups, keep on building expertise in specific fields, and after all, keep on constructing with us and improving our partnership together.
And everything was set up, locally, so we had also to test and learn and try and repeat. So I think it's quite normal that to have the
exactly.
for sure. Okay, maybe William. I mean, in your, can you tell us? I mean, what were the challenges that you faced in investing in Morocco, or the challenges you might have identified for Morocco?
Yeah, sure. So I think for us, we're, I wouldn't say running a playbook, but we're solving a lot of very, very, very basic challenges through technology. So the first is if you make a list of what people spend their money on, usually oftentimes it's food, okay? So we focus on, you know, with hopefully Shari and others, digitizing the small businesses, enabling the reduction of food waste, right? Because 1/3 of all food is wasted, is rots between the farm, the transport, and the shop. It's not in the home, it's not in the restaurant, it's in the supply chain, it's at the farm. So there's plenty of margin in there if we can make this more efficient. The second thing that people spend money on are, well, generally their smartphone, maybe a motorcycle, but transportation. Okay, so we invest in very basic, fundamental solving challenges. So that's where we invested in WeGo. WeGo, hopefully over time, will enable people to get to work faster, more efficiently, more predictably, and safely. The third area is health. It's very, very basic. If people are healthy, they can work more. They do spend money on health, but the more you spend on basically a medicine that, on basically basic healthcare, as opposed to surgery, the better, because the overall health expense goes down. Insurance companies make more money, and you're taking care of challenges before they become very, very tough. And then, you know, the last area that we focus on is education. Again, it's very basic, but people who want to upskill, they want to make a better living, they want to get a better job, and not just a job here, but potentially a job overseas. So these are the areas that we focus on. Why? Because, because they're very big challenges. They also make a lot of money. I mean, most people think, oh, emerging markets, it's like charity. And we don't think that's right. I mean, we're top 5% performing VC in the world versus the developed market VCs. We make money. And so this is not a thought where, okay, you've got, you know, developed market VCs make this amount, and emerging market VCs make this amount, and in the middle is philanthropy. We think that that's not right, okay? We can actually outperform because our markets are growing like this, and the developed markets are growing like this.
Thank you, thank you. Amy, you want to?
No, I was just taking the microphone in the middle.
Yeah, Mikael, can you tell us also, I mean, when you invested in Morocco, what were the challenges you faced? What was difficult for you as an international investor, as a foreign investor?
So I think for us, Sherry was facing a number of like first of its kind, like teething issues, right? I think one of the things we pushed the founder to do early on was to reincorporate, have a holding company in Delaware. That in itself, believe it or not, it takes 2 weeks in most of African countries.
Yeah.
4 years ago in Morocco,
we have
it was a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Wallahi, it was a problem.
Oui.
Taksir ras, as we say.
Yeah.
It took, do you want to know the real truth? Ismail and Sofia are coming back to Morocco this summer. So they had to exile themselves out of the country for 2 years. So it took, I mean, it could have been faster, I'm sure, but like back then it wasn't like straightforward in terms of the risk from a fiscal, whatever standpoint that they were taking. And so they preferred to go outside the country and run a business that is doing millions of dollars a month from outside the country. So it took months, at least a year or two, I think. And we're really grateful that that in itself is now like solved, and that the next generation of Moroccan founders can benefit from it. That was one. The second one was regulation. I mean, fintech, we love banks, but in this country, banks, it's a strong lobby. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm very blunt. Huh? I'm a very authentic person. So for a startup to get a payment license, yeah, it took also 2 years, easily. I mean, it's been, and I think it's a lot. It's telling a lot about the quality of the founder. Again, as William said, it's like you have very talented Moroccan entrepreneurs that have resilience and power through, like, you know, moving their family away from the country, running from distance the country, traveling around with the backpack for like a year or two, and despite all that, managing to get some results done. So it is very exciting. I think I don't want those like couple of things to make you feel like we're. It's quite the opposite. We're very enthusiastic. I think Morocco is at a pivot point. I think this year alone that it may be another great year for Morocco, where we see even more capital deployed from some of the household names investing globally. So it's a very exciting time, and we had some teething issues. We came out all smarter and learned a lot along the way.
Yeah. Amy, how do you react? I mean, on what just said Mika, which is true. I mean, we have the same issue with one startup. I mean, that doesn't manage to do their flip as it's takes too much time. Yeah.
No,
what do you think about all that?
Absolutely. So I love that.
And what can we do? I mean, to make.
No, I love the attitude and the energy of we should change everything immediately, right? But I think that's great. Can we, right? Let's rip the Band-Aid off. We have to look at also, this is within the government, right? And if you look at where the government was to where it is today, yeah. I would tell you, you know, if you asked your parents or your grandparents to say, you know, can you recognize this Morocco, you know, or your great-grandparents, they will not recognize it, yeah. Right? And so the speed of, there has been change, and the speed of that change is increasing. And I think one of the things that we want to do with IFC, working with the World Bank, with TAMWILCOM, is to connect these conversations, because we of course need to change responsibly and thoughtfully and inclusively, but we do need to change faster. So we want to do more, better, faster. And I think this is why this conversation is so important, because you have those that want to see the change, right, that are willing to support it. They are listening to those that are trying to be part of the change. And we need to overcome those obstacles, but they are part of a larger ecosystem that we must work through, that we will work in. And I look forward to kind of making sure these conversations just don't happen on this panel, yeah. And then we go and we do our thing, but rather let this be the anchor for future conversations in public and private, in my view.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Before maybe giving the possibility to the audience to ask questions, can you, I mean, the startups we have or VC that gonna raise funds, I mean, can you, for you, William, I mean, a takeaway, key takeaway for these startups if tomorrow they want to have Orbit startups in their capital? So, yep. What are the main things you're expecting? So
we're a very early stage investor, so we invest a small amount of money, but then we help with our accelerator program. So what is the accelerator focused on? If you interview founders, generally what they ask for, if you ask what they want, is not like the number of Twitter followers their VC has, but it's money. And for early stage startups, debt is generally not a good idea until they become more mature. The next worst type of money is investment, because it's dilutive. The best money is revenue. So through our program, we're really focused on driving revenue, and revenue with a positive unit economics. So trying to get to a point where you're spending $1 and you're getting $1 or a dirham, you know, more than $1's worth of dirhams back. And so the idea here is that if you go to venture capitalists, you have to think they're, for the most part, more capital, less venture, okay? So the easiest way to get money from a VC is not to need it. Okay. So through our accelerator, we try and help the companies get to a point where they actually don't need money. And once you have the perception of not needing the money, then it's very easy to get. One way to do that is get to positive unit economics, even on a small scale, and then you can get that capital. So we're new here in Morocco, but we started investing in 2019 in Pakistan. And Pakistan, if you look at any of the media, looks like a total mess. The flood wiped out the entire crop, 160-kilometer long mud puddle. There was 3 devaluations, inflation. The former head of state was almost assassinated and is in jail. And it's tough. But we have 23 investments there. Not one is dead. And we actually got Peter Thiel to invest in one. Because if you have the fundamentals, if you have the numbers, then it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, but when is it the right moment? I mean, to speak to Orbit. I mean, is it when the startup is ready to scale abroad in another country, or she can do it even if she's not major in her own market?
Yeah, so we're focused on Morocco for Morocco. Okay. Now, if there's an opportunity to go cross-border, sure, but that's usually later.
Okay.
And we invest. We're focused on sales, so there has to be something to sell. But it's usually very, very early, even like a couple of $1,000s,
okay,
or a few $1,000s, so quite early. And then most VCs want to get involved when the company is doing like 30, 40, 50K or 60K monthly gross profit or net revenue. So we invest here, we help them accelerate to here, and then we help them unlock the money. We do invest, but the key is our program. The key is the acceleration. And the cool thing is that once you go through the program, then you're part of an ecosystem. And the ecosystem hopefully will help each other. And our goal over the long term is to open the ecosystem not just to companies that are in our program, but also the companies from other VCs. Because this is about not getting a big piece of a small pie, but getting a small piece of a very, very large pie. And we do it together.
Yeah, thank you. Michael, what about you? I mean, if you can have give a key takeaway for the startups here with us.
Sure. I mean, when we started investing in Morocco 4 years ago, it was hard for us to believe that we could have a start. Like again, we took SocoWatch as a benchmark, and SocoWatch was $50 million worth back then. And for us, it would be success to have a Moroccan startup like Sherry get to this. They did more than double that. Today, they were assessed at the last round at over 100 million. And to your point, change doesn't happen quick, but when it happens, it's beautiful. Today, you have even $100 million funds in Morocco itself, Madda. And so I think, to some extent, Morocco has exceeded our expectations, and we're extremely pleased and extremely happy to be here.
Great. Okay, thank you. Amy? Okay.
I think Morocco has an incredibly unique opportunity. I'm so excited for what we could do here. I think there's absolutely, SaaS solutions, e-commerce, fintech, but there is such a strong automotive industry. There is such a strong aeronautics industry. There is, such a strong science-based industry that, I think we can also be the source of innovation for industry. We keep talking about, you should, from the United States. But when you talk to the VCs today, they keep talking about, growing with industry, growing for industry, recognizing that it's tech and non-tech that is going to change the world. That has changed from a few years ago. But I think that's really true. And I think that given the kind of talent, given the kind of industry that already exists here, I'm excited to see through this acceleration and early stage investment a diversity of founders getting spotlight that are solving for this, not only for Morocco, but for the region, and hopefully for more than the region.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Amar? Yeah.
So we are dedicated to develop the ecosystem to Morocco, to build capacity for our partners, and to make that ecosystem attractive to foreign investors. So the Invest Funds is there and will be running for the years to come to attain that objective.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Maybe we can open the floor now to questions to the audience. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Thank
you
you
can
very
just
much.
present yourself in
Yeah,
few
sure.
words and yeah.
So I'm part of the organizing team at Gitex, taking care of the startups hall. And actually, I am a startup consultant and VC consultant. And recently, I decided to co-found a startup studio in the southern region of Morocco, sous. Yeah, hi. I see deep tech people saying hi. I want to give a feedback from my experience with the Orbit startups with WeGo, because I was giving them a consultancy during that time. And I think that if YC is very famous in the West, in the US, well, Orbit startups is really exceptional in the East. Why, in my opinion, they join the startup as a strategic partner, so as a co-founder. They really take the growth of the startup as their own matter to take care of. So you would have weekly meetings with their team, with investor relations, growth. They would connect the startup with mentors, dependent on their own sector. And it's very, very specialized, very customized. And I was very impressed by what they did. And when I heard that, Amy, you are already working with TAMWILCOM as a partner to have better, faster happening soon in Morocco. We're already seeing this at Gitex. Last year it was 100 Moroccan startups. This year it's 2x. It's 200. And we are all here together. I'm very happy, to be honest, very proud of when I see Salma or Omar or other people that were here, Salma from the eBird, and all those people, or this ecosystem is boiling to make us proud of our talents. You were talking about resilience. Mikael, you talked about Shari, Ismail, Belkhiyat. I think he's the most famous, but there are thousands of founders who are struggling in Africa and taking their own personal well-being sacrificing their own well-being for their venture. And my question for you, and please, I want what I love about this panel is that it's no BS. So it's we're very honest, transparent. What I would ask William, because you seem to be very experienced in the Southeast Asia, what made Dubai and Singapore become jurisdictions that are as attractive as Delaware? Like, if we were to build a Morocco that would have a jurisdiction that would be attractive for startups and not need to have a C Corp in Delaware, what would we need? From your experience, if you have an answer.
Question. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. Maybe it's not so simple to execute on, but clear regulations, and they need to be clear, right? And just reduce drag. So generally, the best thing that you can do is, on the one side, government needs to get out of the way. But on the other side, you have to have government enforcing rule of law, creating a stable environment with transparency and trust. Okay? Singapore experimented, and they got there eventually. Dubai actually copied Singapore. So I'm not saying you can copy what they did, but you can take it as a model, where on the one side it's reduced the amount of requirements, but you also need to make it so that people are protected, and it's a bit of a balance. It's a bit of a balance. So clear regulation, but also enforcement.
No, I think that's right. What William said is sufficient.
Hi, my name is Younes. I'm the founder of Hail. My question is for Amy.
I was trying to hail.
Okay.
Hail, you said. Okay.
Yeah, Hail. My question is, it's about the tech versus non-tech, and it's very specific to Africa. Today, do you think the opportunity for Africa is more towards the basics with non-tech, or more towards leapfrogging and, you know, going like deep tech? I'm asking this question because, to be honest, as a founder, I'm really struggling with this. You know, I have a business that is working, that is profitable, that is growing massively. I see a massive opportunity, a perfect market fit with the Morocco's World Cup, and there is a tech component, but it's just a turn-off. So I want your opinion about this because, you know, and I'll be like Mika, I'm direct. Even in my logo, in Hail, A is for authenticity. I put a crown on top of it. So why today founders feel like they are forced to put thoughts about technology while Africa needs to fix the basics? We talked about food reduction. You don't need an AI for that. You need to nail the basics. There are so much waste. But why this need? I mean, for me, it has been a turn-off. Why should I bend a business model that is working, that is profitable, that can scale worldwide, just to throw in some tech component that will be there? I mean, there is a vision for it. So I just want your opinion about this and maybe share a bit the feedback, you know, also coming from the US. Because for me, this is the business case of Airbnb. If I bring Airbnb here today, nobody's going to invest on it. Nobody. Like, nobody. See how big it is. So first, what's your opinion about that, about Africa? And second, what would be your recommendations to founders like me that have taken this approach?
So big question. Who wants? William?
So I think you should ask the investors in the room as well. Yeah, not to put them, but it's but I'm not the expert. I will say a couple things. I want to say three things. One is that I absolutely hear you that sometimes in the market when they say you see you as a startup, they say, oh, you are a tech startup. Go talk to VC. And then there is that oh, okay, it's not tech focused enough. It's because venture capital is a very specific model that is developed on a disproportionate or exponential is an unfair word, but something that's not exactly linear or less than linear. You know what I mean? It has to be closer this way. It doesn't have to exactly be this way. And so you have to be careful to not. I appreciate that folks keep having those conversations, and I think we all have to do better. I think we have to recognize that there are a lot of business models that will not be tech, that will not be go in that way. This comes back to something that Omar said that I think is really important. TAMWILCOM started and continues to be an organization that is supporting the growth of SMEs, not just tech startups. And so we need to listen to you, they need to listen to you, and we need to think about what those growth plans are. The final point that I will make is that it's a media thing. So if you were to look at the United States, and because I come from there, so I'm sorry to bias in that way, but I think this is instructive. Most businesses are not tech businesses. We have a very strong medium enterprise sector where it's actually, and I learned about it when I worked with a government organization called the Small Business Development Center, SBDCs. Many universities across the United States have what are called SBDCs that work with businesses to help them support pathways to growth. And Silicon Valley, New York City will never hear about them, but they will do incredibly well, and they, in fact, are the backbone of many local economies. So my final comment to you is that I think we need to be more thoughtful about communicating different growth channels and different capital pathways for entrepreneurs like yourself. And that is something that I will write down as something that we have to do.
I don't know if you want me to answer this. Anyway, I'm not a technical person. My background is mainly financial, and when we developed InnoInvest, it was a question of two things. Either it's typical business model that is known by the financial sector or an atypical business model that is unknown. So if it's known, if it's a business that is classical business, there are actors that finance that type of business. But when it comes to an atypical business model that could be tech or non-tech, then we need to develop other instruments. So we developed instruments to finance those type of businesses because they are the model may not be understood by bankers that in Morocco are the main actors to finance SMEs. Then, so in that matter, the Innovinvest was sector agnostic, tech or non-tech. Either way, I strongly believe that scalability is not linked to having the tech component or not. The tech component is mainly there to help maybe structure some components of the business model, but at the end of the day, it comes to the traction, and the scalability is mainly pure traction. That's all.
Thank you. Maybe we can take another last question if there is one.
Hello, thank you very much for everything. Really, it's been really interesting. I'm Nasiba. I'm a co-founder of Logistica, and you talk about SBDC, and we are focused on small businesses to help them with their supply chain end to end. So basically, my question is more for William. What would you, because you said you focus on very early stage, and it's difficult to see like the traction, the real traction at this stage. Like you can have some sense, but could you tell us which criteria do you use to really invest? Very simple question.
Yeah, so Mikhail actually mentioned it. So we look at the challenge or opportunity or problem, and we looked at the founding team. We don't actually spend that much time looking at the product, but we do look at how the founder thinks about their business. They need to be sort of numerically minded or like metrics minded, because if you're not measuring it, you can't make it better, right? Many people have said that, right? So we're there to help. But it's going to fail, or bad things will happen. So the team needs to be very passionate about the problem or the challenge, opportunity, and then the rest we can probably work with. The rest we can help solve. But you cannot manufacture or create or make somebody be passionate about something, okay? And you basically, it's very difficult to help somebody who's not data driven. It's always good to have a gut instinct, but then you want to take that gut instinct and turn it into an experiment to get data. So ideas are like noses. Everyone has one. But in order to get to traction, right, you need to actually get the real data to drive the decisions. And this is why we're quite comfortable, like investing in markets where we're not there. Because we can look at the data and still be helpful.
Thank you. Thank you, William. Thank you all. I mean, for all this insightful conversation, your insights, for being here. Thank you. Thank you, TAMWILCOM, for making it happen. And, well...
Thanks so much.
Thank you.